would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Of course, we are the Palace of Tears. I'm LV, the vocalist, and this is Eric Arshide.
And I play some instruments, record other things.
He does the soundscaping magic.
Ah, okay. And how did you guys all form this? How did you meet and decide that this was it?
So we first met in Berlin. I was there for Wave Gothic Treffen,
Yep.
and he was there with his former band. And I met his music before I met him. So I just happened to hear this music. It really caught my ear. And anyway, fast forward, I'm in Berlin, and I meet him. Didn't expect to, but anyway, fast forward from there.
Yeah.
And we talked about collaborating, having me as a ritual performer with that band because I come from a dance background. But then again, fast forward, we got, intimately involved. And so it was a personal relationship first. And then he wanted to hear me sing because I do have a singing background too. And I kind of joked and sent him a musical theater clip of me singing a really cheesy song, kind of just,
I was
tongue in cheek.
I was floored though. I was
Wow.
And
yeah. And then for instance, the lead on to that was I visited her to New Orleans from Portland where I was living at the time. And she sang one of my favorite songs, Night and Day, by Cole Porter, in a reverb staircase. And I was like, I already had ideas of music that I wanted to give her. So I was just like, again, wow. And all this reverb and hearing her voice, it was just, I knew I wanted to work with her.
I was honored that he was interested.
Yeah.
So, so I remember I started warming up weeks in advance. And then we just kind of started jamming out. He had a little basic demo for me, and we made a couple demos, and I remember I broke out in a sweat. It was like the creative juices were literally coming out of my pores. And I remember I just had to rip all my clothes off, and all I had on was like a scarf. It was cool though, to feel it viscerally like that. Like, woo, okay, something's happening.
Yeah, I remember feeling it's like more just elevated level of creativity with her. Obviously we were already starting to kind of see each other and all that, but it just took it to this other place. I felt very creatively met, and I think energetically, I guess the spiritually vibes or exchange was, we were both like, whoa, like this is pretty intense, pretty heavy. And I already had a sense like we're going to work together, as a new project. So at the time, my previous band was kind of fizzling out just due to the singer living in Switzerland and just other life events happening within the band. And so we put that on hiatus, and I decided to move to New Orleans and focus on what is now the Palace of Tears,
which we came to find is a place in Berlin
where we met.
So when we realized that, I said, oh my God, I guess we are meant to be the Palace of Tears.
And did you know that this place existed beforehand?
No. When we chose that title, I did at least a little bit of research to see if anyone else had claimed it.
Yeah.
And, there was one other artist that they were just Palace of Tears. So I said, well, we have to be the Palace of Tears.
Right.
So, and then later I realized it was a place that was known as a crossing point that separated East from West Berlin.
Yep. I looked it up today.
Yeah. Yeah.
To find out.
It was uncanny. I mean, we really didn't know, at least conscious. So there must have been
But we were writing music during the pandemic, and we were kind of we obviously not only were we making music, but watching a ton of movies, and we watched the remake of Suspiria, and there's a chapter in that movie called The Palace of Tears, and it must have been the few drinks we've had, or I just looked at LV and said that would be the coolest band name, and we just kind of talked about what that would mean, the majestic, the big, the beautiful, but yet what tears represent, and then it just kind of wormhole into this real place and what that place really represents, you know, separating from others without knowing if you'll ever see them again or not, and all of that emotions encompassed with that
and
feeling and experience.
Now that we're talking about it, just there's all these other resonators because Suspiria for me, it relates to my dance background, and it does get very intense, and you know that goes into it too.
And Ritualistic, the movie, it's all those kind of things that I think our band in some ways evokes, you know, the organic and the ghostly, and the both between both worlds, and then there's the underground and the ritualism of it, and then all the emotions that come into it, the dark and the light, you know.
It is, and the name you've picked really goes so well, because you are right, it does invoke kind of a thought of, what does the tears mean? You know, you can kind of work out the palace, but what are the tears about? And that's why I did some research today and think, let's see what that is, if that is a place. And yeah, so to find out it was a place, and yeah, I guess it would have been a palace full of tears when you're separating to a different part of a country, kind of thing. Yeah, especially in those days.
Right, it was an actual location, so it just, I think if you go into the otherworldliness of it, it was a place of meeting that was of this, specifically for this experience of people to be immersed in, whether it be sad or happy or all the things. But I think most of it was pretty endearingly sad, you know.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
What you said there is, you know, it invokes a question: what is the tear? What is the meaning of tears? It's unanswerable question, I think, but it deepens. So it really,
definitely,
we hope to offer that in our music for your own experience within yourself when you listen to it, you know.
Oh, it does. I mean, your latest release, just, was it last Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah, Veiled Screen, Woven Dream. Fantastic. It really is so good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a very important and sensitive day.
Yeah, it's a very good, and the vocals and everything, it's amazing. It's just so different. It's not what I expected, I gotta say. Wow. You know, you see you two and you don't think that kind of music's going to come out of you, you know, and it's like, whoa, this is off the scale. It's not what I expect at all, you know, from this band. And it's just, it's brilliant. Really is.
Wow. That's very kind.
I think you're making me blush a little bit.
Sorry. No, it is excellent. It really is.
Thank you so much.
What I like about your music as well is the fact that you can change your vocals. So different. I mean, it's almost like, at first, the two songs I was listening to, and they were so different, and I kept thinking to myself, is that the same person singing? Surely not.
Really?
Yeah, because it just sounded, it sounded so, you've got the almost operatic high vocals, and then you went to a more kind of solemn style, and it's just like, how can that be the same person doing such a different style?
Oh, thank you. That's I appreciate that. I definitely, as a performer and artist, I pride myself on trying to be or maintain a dynamism and a versatility. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
It really works, and it's just so good that the music blends perfectly with whichever style you're using for your vocals. The music is just perfectly there for it, and you've achieved something fantastic. You really have.
Gosh. Thank you. I mean, just that you're informed enough to have this conversation, this level of exchange with us. So I appreciate that you took the time.
Yeah, I always try and get a little bit of background and do a little bit of research to make sure that I do know something about the band, because I know there is people out there that I do watch others, and I see sometimes they have no idea who this band is. And it's like, Have you just got a set of 10 questions? That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you
Thank you,
don't
Mike.
know the band, you don't care. You're just there asking those questions, doing a job. That's it. Put it one side, it's done.
Yes.
But I think that if you don't show a little bit of respect and find out a little bit about the band, sometimes it's more difficult than others with bands. But that's why I've started asking in emails, have you got a bio? Just so I can get a little bit of background if there's nothing else out there.
Yeah.
So I hope that did show through then.
Appreciate you very much.
Really do.
Venus in Furs, I've got to ask. That was quite brave going for a velvet.
Yes. It took a minute to learn. I thought it was one of the hardest covers I had to learn, and a lot of people were like, really? But it was really hard because of Lou Reed's tunings, but I really had to like go and learn the song from the bass line to the way he played to the sound he played, like literally. And there was a version that was done pretty much like the actual song with the strumming of the guitar chords. And then I remember I was really struggling with it. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. It wasn't coming out the way, it just wasn't working. And then I decided to take a break, and then all of a sudden it just like clicked. We made it like a Palace of Tears stamp on it. I drew away everything and like rethought about how I wanted the percussion, and it just, maybe it was just that lining of the stars or whatever. But we wanted something that was really kind of really steady and almost ritual sounding of this experience of what the song is, because the song is kind of experiential, you know.
But I think it was good that he challenged himself first to really explore this, very different,
it was very different.
style before realizing, okay, now it's time to integrate it with and make it
right,
personal and make it our own.
Yeah, I mean, that's learning.
Important to do. Like what you said about interviewing, I'm going to dive in and research the inner workings of this.
I mean, I really did a lot of research on different versions they did. I mean, I think some versions were done in majors, and some concerts they did in sharp, and just the various ways I literally had to evoke and embody the actual music before I can actually put my own thing on it. I had to like try to think or view the song as if the artist, as if I wrote it like them, you know. And then she added her little nuance to it, and it just was like, whoa.
Well, it definitely pushed my low range.
Yeah.
That's the song I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
The very different one.
Yeah.
But
as a vocal person, I had a deep voice for, since I was about 12. And I think I started answering the phone, and people thought, I was someone else. I just had this deep voice. And I would see people that I started training with looking at me as we're going down the scales, and their eyes would get really big because they'd see I could just keep going lower and lower. And they were like, they'd make faces at me, and I was trying not to laugh, But I don't think some of my teachers were really trying to push me in that direction, right? They're like, let's get you up there. You got the low. Let's go up there and get you in that soprano range or whatever. But why not? This time I said, well, let's go explore that and see what happens. It was
Well, as a Velvets fan, I do think your version is absolutely excellent.
Oh, thank you.
It's just got it is a complete twist on the original. You've managed to really put Palace of Tears, or the Palace of Tears, on there properly. You really have. Wow. You've really stamped your mark on a song there.
Thank you very much.
Wow, you're just like showering us today.
No.
I never.
Some people think I do it because I'm in front of the people, but it's not. If I don't like something, I just won't mention it. So, but no, that really is a great version.
Thank you.
We were watching something, and I remember we were both, laying down and very cozy, and I said, "Love, we gotta do Venus in Furs," and it took a while,
Yeah.
We were talking about it for about a year.
Yes.
But I was like, we're doing it, but it took a while to do it.
And we've got some actually really good responses from our version of it, so it's been cool. And then we play it live, and people really get into it. It translates well when we do it live, you know.
Yeah, you've done a great job on that. You really have. I mean, like I said, it's a brave decision to take on a real firm favorite of so many people and
Yeah.
put your spin on it. And
Bold. Yes.
yeah, really bold. But wow.
Yeah. There's been maybe a comment here or there where they're like, oh, this is blasphemy. You don't cover these songs.
Yeah.
You can't please everyone.
And the thing is, they are quite brave songs as well in themselves, the way they were written in those days, and certainly very forward thinking when they came to songwriting.
Especially the content of what it's about for that era of time within all that kind of different music, because it offered an experiential, darker side of things, telling of a tale that the world of the humans indulge in a different light, you know. So it showcased kind of like what we what we kind of embody ourselves as human beings within that song. I would say, to really maybe explore or offer or write about things that are a little bit more a little bit in the deeper under a lot of the layers into the deeper psyche of us as humans, you know. And that song really is about.
Yeah, they were always quite hidden meanings in a lot of ways, but they were always there, weren't they? Very, for people who knew the Velvets, it was there, definitely. People knew that what was coming up, and those lyrics were never as straightforward as they sounded. You had to really listen to them properly.
Yeah.
Walk on the Wild Side has got to be the classic one for that one.
Yeah.
Very different.
You can look at that song as so many different lenses. It all makes sense, really. I think it's all.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. What about you guys? What about your influences in music? Sorry.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Well, I think the influences started with having a very it's not that my family played instruments, but my mom really grew me up in a lot of she was a real heavy music listener. I mean, that was a pastime in our home, not the TV for a while. And my mom had an amazingly wild social life. She was also a DJ at a rock station in upstate New York. So I grew up in a lot of prog rock. It was a youngin, and then like space music, space bands, a lot of like new age ambient, Renaissance, Fleetwood Mac, Genesis, Tangerine Dream. My mom was into a lot of experimental soundtrack music, so I got into mood music as a youngin. I grew up around a lot of musicians all the time. I was going to concerts. She was one of those moms that brought her kids to the concerts. So, at 10 years old, my first concert was Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne, and it just progressed on there. So I was involved in music for a while, but I didn't really pick up a guitar until I was on my 21st birthday. I'm 50 now, so I'm a late bloomer, I would say, but I felt very connected to the guitar and to various bands. So I would say it started with hair metal and all the musicianship of that, and it just kind of eased over into like alternative. It's kind of like, and then all of a sudden into what we listen to today. But I would say I can go all day on my influence. The main influence would be like I heard a really amazing compilation in my college years called "Lonely as an Eyesore," which is on 4AD. It had like Baja's "Dead Can Dance" and Diff Juz and Zymox, but I heard this song "Crushed" by Cocteau Twins, and it was like, I'm going to play the guitar. And it felt so relatable to that kind of music that it just, I say the rest is history. So.
I've got to ask, favorite album of theirs?
Victorialand.
Mine's Garland's.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's like number 2.
Yeah, I love Garland's. Fantastic.
Same.
Very dark, isn't it? Very dark, but it
really was the first. I think it was the first album for me, and it was just on a loop for months, probably.
Yeah, likewise.
I think there's a lot of post-punk bands that try to do that and they can't. Like, it's just, it has its own unique quality. I mean, if you really think about it, that time, that era, they're using like 808 drum machines these crazy fuzz guitars with that bass line. It's just like it was a whole new sound that no one was really doing. Sure, there was the Susies and Cures, but it had its own thing. And what it was a lot of influences to make up a sound, which is something that I think we relate to in creativity and music. A lot of various influence to make up your own kind of thing, you know?
So I always say it goes back to my dancing. That's where it all started for me. And it was classical dance. So classical music that was flowing through me in my body my whole life. And so that was probably the first influence for me. And then it kind of went from there to operas and musicals. Because again, that relationship to dance. And I guess that's why that I go back to my classical roots and kind of was more interested in classical voice. Because I feel that, you know, if you have like a good classical foundation, you can go anywhere from there. That in a nutshell. But yeah, I know I, as a child, was drawn to the Asian cultures, and I would end up at Indian dances and hearing the Indian music. And so that's kind of, I feel somewhere deep in my roots, maybe beyond this life, even, you know, something that feels ancient for me. And I think the first time that I heard a voice that made me cry or gave me some really purposeful response was the Indian classical voice and also the Middle Eastern voice. That's as far as singing, but in terms of just musical influences, I did have music in my family. So I did have guitar players in my family. So I did, you know, I was around that a lot. And yeah, classic rock, the psychedelic rock, prog rock. I was exposed to that, and also a lot of Latin music, actually. So, you know, like Brazilian jazz, and you know, that's what I heard a lot of growing up before foraying into the dark alternative. That was kind of, you know, my own forays, but before that, that was what I got from my family.
Yeah. But I think classical starts off for a lot of people, really. And it was incredible the way they used to write it without anything electronic in those days, and no help from computers or anything like that. So they did extremely well, didn't they? And still being played today.
Yeah, when I listen to music and I see it live, even, it's like I think about all these layers and what it takes to make this big sound of written music, and it's pretty mind blowing still. It's geniusness that is timeless to me.
Yeah, I feel like there's a purity to it that I try to stay close to, because I have this idea about minimizing influence, even though I know it's unavoidable, right? There's nothing new under the sun. It is true. But as an artist and a creator, I try to stay aligned with something that's clean and no better word than pure. And so my intention is to try to come from that space and bring something that, like you said, maybe is unexpected, or just, you know, just something that offers a different perspective or a different approach.
Yeah. And who does the writing, etc., with you two?
I usually start with all the musical ideas, and then, you know, and then it's interesting. It's kind of very entwined. So I'll give her a lot of the demos, or I'll have a set demos ready for her, and we'll go at it one by one. And she'll hear a piece of music, and then kind of go through a process of writing with the theme that I may have a theme that I start with, but it will end up differently thematically. But usually I have a pretty set idea of what I want to do, and then we'll add parts or take away, and then just it goes from there. But
yeah, like he'll have a layer, and then I add a layer, and then he might add another layer, and then I'll add another layer. So yeah, it can be like a collaborative painting.
I usually have the skeleton and just we hang on top. And I usually hold back a lot until I kind of see what she's going to do. All right. And then I'll add after I have already had my head what I want to add, but I'll hold back. And then I'll, when she kind of gets somewhat of a her own skeleton, then we'll start adding parts with it, you know. But I for the first time in all the other bands, I've never done this, but I actually wait to see what she does vocally before I add guitar parts, extra guitar parts, because I've come to really enjoy her melodic parts, and I thought some of these parts can make amazing guitar lines, and so it's been a very different process for me. And also, we usually think about what is this song about, because I really go based on ideas, like, whether it's life events or nature. Nature has a lot to do with it, the mood of nature and how it fits my mood or my internal landscape, and then she'll come up with the theme
or
the story.
Or I'll already have something written and then I'll hear a certain demo and I'm not sure about that one, but then I hear another. I'm like, okay, this one feels like it might work with this idea that I have. So it is sometimes that thought process where what does this track feel like, and does that align with the feelings in this writing that I have?
Because it's kind of like, oh, we have the water song, oh, we have the ocean song, this is the fire breathing dragon phoenix song, you know? And then it goes from there. So
brilliant. When is the new album actually out? I know it's quite soon.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're trying to really be intentional about planning that strategy, because there's a lot going on right now with October, and we wanted to make sure to we wanted to make sure to wait until some things blow over. We weren't sure if we were going to time it in between holidays or if we have to push it back even to next year. So to be honest with you, we're kind of trying to figure that out too, like, you know, because we finished recording and he's in the middle of mixing. So we are going to be mastering soon, and then we can kind of
take it from there. We want to, it's like I felt definitely a urgency to get this work completed. And then once the album was done recording and I started mixing, I've actually slowed down just a tad so I can, because we really want to make this next album very different from our first and have a more of a deeper impact.
It feels a bit precious, you know. It does feel a bit precious.
The content is pretty
intense. This has been one of the most difficult things I've gone through in my whole life.
Same here.
When we finished recording this last song, just I don't know, like
a week ago.
Along with the solar eclipse and honoring the passing of my brother, which was last year. So that was the date of the release of the single, to honor his memory. And when we finished the recording, almost in synchronicity with that, we were both overcome with emotion and gratitude and kind of on the verge of tears, and just, you know, it was like we knew it was finished and we were just kind of holding each other. And it's just been such an intense process that we want to be mindful about how we're going to introduce it to the world.
Right. And, you know, it's I think as musicians, we really went through some intense cathartic moments. You know, there were moments where, like, how can we get through this song? Because I'm sure every artist will talk about this, but it was so intensely emotional. It's like, how do we remove it a little bit so we can get it on tape, quote unquote?
Yeah.
And so there were many moments where there's a lot of takes that didn't work, from my parts to her parts. But then there's every song really is about that right combination of magic and organic reality, I guess. So, like, we caught the emotion and the magic at the same time, and we had a great recording.
Yeah.
And, you know, my intention for this album is that I wanted every song to kind of soar. I didn't want anything to be like this, which I feel like a lot of music, in my own opinion, this day in their genres like that. It's like, where are the soaring moments? Where is that, like, bringing you up and then gently bringing you down? And that's how this past couple of years have been. And so the songs represent that. And so it's like, of course, you know, any engineer's gonna say I'm meticulous and it has to be this. Well, yeah, this particularly has to be really like with a lot of intention and thought out for myself and also for who we're offering it to, you know. So it really shows what we're trying to offer, and there's no half-assing it, I guess.
It's just an interesting process to go through. How do we want to do this, right? To take the time to think about it and really be mindful and not just say, oh, hurry up and get it out. It's become a very different thing. Hold on, let's
but there
be
is
intentional.
That moment we'll have to say, okay, that's that.
Well, we're close. We just it's almost a gift, right? To now have a little bit of that, maybe you could say luxury to think about it and say, okay, let's do this right.
Yeah.
So we couldn't give you like an exact date to answer the question. But
no, that's fine. I mean, it's
hopefully in the next 3 months. I would say, hopefully within the next 3 months.
I mean, watching you two talk about it, that's obviously got a lot of heart and soul in this.
Yeah, I always thought I did that in all my other bands and other albums I've released, but I could say at this point in my life that this work, I know what that means at this point. I can actually say in this interview, because I'm having the realization of the moment. I could say now, I know what it means to put your heart and soul into something sonically, and have that as an imprint, and it will always be there. And it's, it's a pretty cool thing to say at the moment, but it's the truth. You know?
No, obviously it means the world to you what you're creating there. So, and it is a precious thing, isn't it?
It is. It's truly precious. I think all creativity in every way we do it, however we do it, is very precious because it's the most powerfully emotionally releasing experience, but yet it's so fleeting. So it dies, it births and dies all at once. And it's so representative of how we live. And if you're able to, I think as an artist and whatever it is that you do, to capture that moment between that moment of creation and that moment it dies, that in-between moment, if you're able to be present with that, then I think you are truly living something. You know, but we live in a world where it's really fast and goes before us, and that's
Yeah. I mean, I'm so grateful that we could at least get the single out in the way that we did and in the time that we did. I'm just so grateful. I can
see the emotions though. Yeah.
She doesn't do this for every interview, I promise.
We wanted have the room to keep creating. Thank you. To keep creating through the process of bringing this out. So now that we have opened up to the visual aspect of things, and we self-produced a music video, we see how integral that is as a companion to the music. And so we definitely want to have at least one more music video to aid in the upcoming full album release. So we just have to select one more single, I guess, to do that.
And are you one of these bands that are all self-promoting, everything basically?
Well,
yes, I would say for the most part. We're learning as we go. We've had some help with.
You need help. I mean, if you're going to do everything yourself, it will just take that much longer. And he's great. He is, but and we are. I'm only one person. He's only one person. You really do need a little help, and especially when something like this is so emotionally charged. So people have been helping us kind of carry it. Yeah. So we want to thank William Zimmerman of Moonquell Media for that. And then I found Paul Chenault of Control I'm Here, and he's just been wonderful. And it's been the smallest thing, like just helping us make videos,
Content creation.
yeah, the content creating, and he's just been great. Just having that little extra help has allowed us to stay focused on the process that we needed to stay focused on, which was finishing recording.
Right. And also we've also learned that we're learning in the process of learning what works, what doesn't, and how to try to get our sound out there too. And it is a lot of work. I mean, it's more than I realized ever. And I've been doing this for a while.
Well,
but this is the day and age we live in. And,
yeah,
it's kind of like you have to, at one point, like, okay, where am I? Am I a musician or am I making content? Because I just want to be a musician, So I think finding the little help and being able to allow people to be creative on what you're creating is really important to have a little team, especially for bands like us. We're not well known or whatever. We're very underground, and our sound is very niche. It's like,
yeah, that is the other point. The fact that we are still emerging, we do have to DIY.
Yeah,
we aren't, just being a realist here. We aren't so big that we need a full team and management yet.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, that's been like a reminder, like, yep, it's, you just kind of do it yourself. But yeah, we've needed a little bit of help for sure.
And our like I said, our sound isn't like what a majority of what's out there in the dark world, the dark music scene, as far as post-punk or shoegaze or electronica. It's a little bit of everything, but it's a little bit more on the moodier side. And so we have to be patient with how to find or access audiences and play with these bands, too, at the same time.
Yeah. And have you done many gigs?
Done a fair amount of good gigs. I would say 20, 30 so far.
So someone else asked this, and I honestly lost count.
Yeah.
There was a point where we were like, all right, after the first 15, we're gonna,
that was a couple years ago. So
well, that was the number he told me. He's like, you do that first 15, and then you kind of get acclimated to how you need to set up and what you need to be thinking about in terms of the space and how to communicate with whoever's running sound. And so we're well past that.
Yes.
There's been a few 15s, so I don't know, we might be approaching 50.
Yeah. And we've done a few festivals, and we definitely have our live sound down. It's always evolving, but we definitely consider ourselves a live band. I mean, I want that to be known. Like, we really want to bring this sound, and when you hear it live, because that's what it's all about. I think what we do live is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Our theatrics and our dynamics and what we sound like as musicians. You may not hear bands like us every day, so I'm starting to really feel confident in a very humbling way that what we're offering is a little bit different than your average band to some extent.
But I'll be.
Yeah, you be.
What's the word? I'll be honest and say I go back and forth with that sometimes because of how different and unique we are as a live presenter. And sometimes I wonder if it's better to space it out and not perform live too much, at least not in the same geographical location.
Yeah.
It's almost like it needs to move in order to stay potent, because I feel that what I do, if I speak for myself, it is very potent, and I do try to bring all of my experience to the stage. And it's quite a bit of resource that I have to allocate to do that. And sometimes it does feel very, it does require a certain something that I need to feel enough support to do that. So hopefully it doesn't sound too vague, but
No.
I guess it's like my theater background. It's like I there's a certain amount of support and things that I'm used to being allocated for, so that I can do that with ease and give all of the energy that I can.
Wow. Any plans for Europe?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
So bad.
I mean, it's I guess that comes back to resource, right? That's the other
Yeah.
the reality is, you know, how do we allocate the resource? And yeah, I mean, without a doubt, I mean, I've traveled as a performer, so that I feel is in my blood. I just haven't gone to Europe as a band yet.
Yeah.
So it's not unforeseeable. It's more just, you know, figuring out who and where and establishing the contacts.
Yeah. We really, I think more than even America, I would love to have this sound in Europe, because I've been in Europe a few times as a band, and I just know how more accessible and accepting I think our sound would be.
Yeah.
You know, over in Europe, you could be a little bit more on the dreamy, drony, moody side, you know, theatrical. And we're trying to find a way how to make that happen. And I would love to spend a good couple weeks in touring Europe, you know, bringing the
That'd be
sound
fantastic.
to those atmospheres, you know.
Would be really good. That's for sure.
And I know we have support in several places in Europe. I know there's some support in Germany and the UK and France and Spain and Italy, and yeah, so it's a possibility.
It's a big,
just a matter of those logistics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you'll get there, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be that long. I really don't. They've only got to hear Venus in Furs, and that's it. They're going to be hooked.
Thank you.
Seriously, that will hook most kind of fans of darker music in, definitely.
Wow, cool.
It is such a fantastic version, so I can't see you're gonna have a problem pulling them in with that one. But I mean, it's great to know that you two are so passionate about what you're doing. It's so blatantly obvious coming from you two that it's magical in a way, because I'd just love to see people that are actually passionate about what they're doing fully, not just, oh yeah, you know, we do it from the heart. But you two really have shown that you're doing it from the heart. You know, that's fantastic to see. It really is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot to hear that.
Oh, now you're getting him all going.
No, not me.
I think when I heard Venus in Furs for the first time from you two, I actually thought, you know, you could even cover certain Mark Almond songs and get them spot on as well, you know, Soft Cell. And I just thought, yeah, there's a couple of tracks where your music, your style of that you put across on Venus in Furs, and the vocals that were in Venus in Furs, you put them together with certain Soft Cell Mark Almond songs, and I think you'll get an excellent cover there as well.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to check out Soft Cell again.
Yeah, so you never know. You might get there on that one.
Yeah. We did do one cover of Burn by The Cure.
All right.
We just didn't record it, but we've performed it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, and there's always that thing like, well, do we want to do what a lot of these bands doing, covering The Cure, Susie? You know, it has to be really something like authentic and done differently. So, but that's about the only other thing we've done, like she said, not recorded. You know, but I'm gonna check out Soft Cell just to see.
Yeah, and whereabouts are you two based?
Oh, forgive me for not saying.
I think you might have done.
No, I don't think we did. We are in a mysterious place. We're in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wow.
Yep.
Place of music for sure.
So so although we met in Berlin, you know, he was American, so it wasn't too long distance of a relationship, but he was in Oregon, in Portland.
Yeah.
And so we were contemplating, you know, hey, at some point one of us is gonna have to make a decision, and so here Eric is.
Yes, I'm also a chef by trade, so New Orleans for cooking was something I wanted to get down and explore. So
had to put that notch in his or feather in his cap, if you will. Yes.
So I moved down. I chose to move down here. So we're in New Orleans, and It's all everything you ever can imagine is here. So
Wow. And Elvie, is there a hint of Canadian in your accent?
You know, I was born and raised here in Louisiana, but my parents were not. So while I think I have a non-regional dialect, I have gallivanted quite a bit, and I think I've picked up little accents here and there from the different places I've been. I really have been. I've been in New York. I've been in Chicago. I've been in California. I wasn't in Canada for long, so it's just interesting to me what people hear in my voice.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of words, and the way you've pronounced them are distinctly Canadian. Sorry.
I think you might be hearing a nasality that I may have picked up in Illinois. That's all I can think.
Well,
but yeah, people won't believe that. They're like, "You're not from New Orleans."
Yeah, they always ask. People here ask her, "Where are you from?" And she's like, "I'm from New Orleans." She doesn't really speak like a lot of the folks locally around here, So there's definitely a dialect that it's definitely noticeable, But yeah, a lot of people are always asking where she's from or what accent they're picking up from her,
Yeah, who knows?
Main thing is you're happy. That's it.
I mean, we would like to relocate, though. Actually,
yeah.
We actually have talked about going back to the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
Like maybe letting the cat out of the bag, but
there's talk of it. There's possible plans, etc. So, but yeah, the main thing is just getting the album done, completed, mixed, and there it kind of opens things up a little bit because it doesn't take a good amount of the psyche when you're in this process, as with any piece of art.
Release
to the world,
Yes.
But you're getting there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I have forgotten? So please use this opportunity to say whatever.
Sure. So we actually just performed at the inaugural Dark City Fest here in New Orleans, and it was about 30 bands, including like a Vision Video, Ayatoya,
Wow.
And yes, it's just so many local bands supporting, and we actually caught the attention of a booking agent that had been our goal for that festival. So if nothing else, we're doing it for that, and that is with that goal in mind of creating sustainable art, right? So that I can just be a working artist. One of the many steps you must take to, further your work. And we did that. They showed up and they were very responsive and very receptive, and so happy to share that. Mm-hmm. And the festival's actually still going on. It's ending today, but we're pretty tired.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of it's I think it went really well. There was a pretty good turnout. What else do we want to mention? I guess
just maybe go, if they want to hear some music, go to bandcamp.com or go to YouTube to see our new video.
Well, there's some interesting things happening with Bandcamp, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but we do also have our Spotify, which I will admit that I think we've been overly reliant on Bandcamp, and I don't want to sound negative when I say that, but Spotify is this entity that symbolizes relevance, and so I'm trying to be a little bit more vocal about that and draw people to it, because our Spotify has been a bit neglected. So I would encourage anybody watching this to support us that way if you want. And
yeah, I just want to say I'm so thankful for this interview. It was a very nice exchange to talk to you. And
I hope it was good.
Talk for it,
I hope the style is a little bit more kind of soft and comforting rather than abrupt.
It was.
Oh my gosh, it was
the best interview I've ever had, and you totally show a support where it really is about the art, and yeah, you're a really amazing interviewer.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very much.
felt safe.
You're like a rare breed in the world.
Yeah, I think I felt like safe enough, or you know,
I know you
spacious enough to have these emotions come out.
Yeah.
So thank you for holding space for that.
Thank you.
More than welcome. More than welcome. And seriously, good luck with the next single and definitely the album, which I'm looking forward to.
Thank you so much.
And for sure, just keep smiling and never give up, because you two are great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would also just say at the end, you know, if people want to support us, we have our link tree, which has all the links, and there's more information about the album at our Kickstarter, which I did forget to mention that's been like the launching off point really of all this momentum that we gained. So it lives up to its name. It really did give us a kickstart on moving this work. And it's been huge. So I say thank you to all of our backers, and yeah, it means a lot. It means the world.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you two. It really has.
Likewise.
And thank you, the Palace of Tears, for such great music as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike.
You're more than
Really
welcome.